Hello. So as I wasn't able to screen record real time as I was making my model, I'm going to now go through a few slides where I will explain the steps I took to create part one of the 2017 Model Mania Challenge. So in order to create the part that you see here, I first used sketch to make a circle. I placed down those circles on the left and right, and then I used the pattern tool to copy that shape you see at the top across the center line and reflect it down. Um, and then I took that shape and I extruded it downwards by 3 millimeters so that the top plane of it was level with uh, SolidWorks top plane. So then I was able to just select that top plane and make the next layer of pattern that I wanted, which is the part of the shape that the thin walls of the design that go upwards. So I created that and then I extruded it 9 millimeters in the positive direction. From there, I created a reference geometry and projected that reference geometry 9 millimeters up from the top plane. And with that, I just sketched the design I would need for the top of the part, which you can see here. I used the pattern tool again, reflecting across the center line, and then I extruded that by 3 millimeters upwards. So with this basic design, I then needed to add the fillets. In the original part model, you can see the fillets are like the orange running along the inside of the shape. So I created these 2 millimeter radius fillets along the inside. I then changed the material to, it was plain carbon steel. Yep, I changed the material to plain carbon steel. You can't see it on this PowerPoint, but in the final part I'm uploading, the fillets are orange to match the example model. And that was the steps I took to create part one of the Model Mania Challenge. I believe that the strategies I used were fairly time efficient. I will now be explaining how I modeled part two of the 2017 Model Mania Challenge to get this slightly more complex part shape that you can see depicted here. My process was pretty similar, except I primarily used the pattern tool instead of the mirror tool when duplicating the features that I sketched out. So you can see that here in the first slide. I used the pattern tool to recreate these circular shapes, rotating them about the origin. And then I used the same strategy before where I extruded downwards by 3 millimeters, and then I took that shape and I created another sketch on the top plane, which you can see the dimensions of here, and I extruded that one upwards 9 millimeters, and that gave me the walls of the shape that I was going for. And then I created plane one, which served as reference geometry against the top plane. And on top of plane one, I sketched the shape I would need for the top of the wheel. And again, I used the pattern tool, the circular pattern tool, to do this. And I simply extruded by 3 millimeters, and this was the final shape I got. I then added fillets, and I changed the material to plain carbon steel. Yeah, so that resulted in the final product that I was going for. This video is just going to serve as a very brief description of how I performed the simulation part of the Model Mania Challenge. So you can see I took part two here. This is what it looks like with the orange lining along the fillets. I selected these 3 holes here to serve as a fixed plane. I then selected the remaining 3 holes, and as the document instructed, I applied 800 newtons of force to these 3 points. I believe I created a curved mesh and just applied that to the part. And then from there, I ran the simulation and I got this to be the displacement once 800 newtons is applied. But the instructions asked us specifically to find the factor of safety, and this is what I found for the factor of safety for the 2017 part. Once the simulation was run, we got 2.948 times 10 to the fourth on the low end for our factor of safety, but as you can see, most of the part is on the high end, where we got a factor of safety of 9.22.